Welcome to the Talk of Simsbury. My name is Dominique Avery. Last August, Money magazine named Simsbury one of the top small cities in the entire United States, citing our schools, music education, performing arts center, bike trails, and much more. That was certainly the talk of the town in Simsbury, the number 9 top small city in the entire United States. Wow. But what does that actually mean? Does it make other people want to live here? Does it inspire businesses to come here? Is it a good thing? I have 2 guests here today who can help answer those questions. Chris Barnett knows the town about as well as anybody, a graduate of Simsbury High School. She's a realtor, and it's her business to really know the area. Plus, she's a member of the town's Economic Development Commission. Welcome, Chris. So happy you came here. Also here is Sarah Nielsen. Sarah is the executive director of Main Street Partnership, a small grassroots organization which was created to re-energize Simsbury's traditional downtown and to promote local tourism. Thank you so much, both of you, for coming. Money magazine's whatever it's called, award or naming us or whatever it was, wasn't the only top ranking we've gotten recently. There have been a lot of others. Sarah, can you describe some of them?
Well, I'll start off by saying that I think that the national community has done a really great job of recognizing what we here in Simsbury already know, that Simsbury is a fantastic place to live, work, and play. So we were the number 9 top town, as you mentioned, from CNN Money Magazine, and that was fantastic national news. We're also a designated Preserve America community, which is a White House designation, is a federal designation that says that we've done a good job preserving our cultural, natural, and historic assets. We're also the only town to be named on Simsbury's the National Trust dozen distinctive destinations. That again hit Money Magazine, National Geographic, USA Today, you name it, over 500 national hits from that designation. We're the only one in the state of Connecticut to receive that. But most recently, we were also named to NerdWallet. NerdWallet does a financial analysis based on a variety of things, including income, education levels, housing stock, etc., to say that this is a really fantastic place. You get the most bang for your buck living in Simsbury, as you do in some of the other communities that were also named. And we were listed as in West Simsbury as one of the hottest zip codes by Realtor.com. And Chris, I think, will explain a little bit more, but Realtor.com named West Simsbury one of the hottest zip codes when it comes to the housing market. So we've had a lot of awards. The final thing I should mention is we are a silver designated community for the League of American Cyclists.
Yeah, we've got a lot of honors. Hottest zip code, West Simsbury, all of these things that have been said about Simsbury. Does it help sell houses?
It does help sell houses. We're selling a lifestyle here. I think what's important when I know myself, when I'm showing homes to prospective buyers, it's about not only the house that they're looking to purchase, but what is their family going to experience when they get here. We have so many gems of our community between Simsbury Farms, the Flower Bridge, the Rails to Trails, our parks, our state parks, our town parks, that it's important to educate buyers about what we have here to offer. All these rankings and designations are fabulous, but really what does it translate to, the average homeowner?
Well, and the other thing we should mention is the Simsbury school system is one of the top selling reasons as well. And I think that Matt Curtis and his team have done a fantastic job. And I think, Dominique, you have the exact ranking, but Simsbury High School and the STEM program has had a fabulous ranking.
Simsbury High School was recognized by Niche as the 5th best in the state, and the school district the 6th best recently.
And for young families, Chris, I mean, that's got to translate to...
It does. One of the... We do have a lot of differentiators in our school system. As real estate agents, we are not really allowed by law to discuss particulars about whether or not, in our opinion, a school is good or not. What we can speak to is factual information about schools, things like the engineering program at the high school, the culinary arts program, our arts academy, strings and our language programs and all of that, that really sets us apart from other communities that are very similar to us socioeconomically. I know with Main Street, there's a piece regarding those differentiators with the school system that is in the works of being published to help real estate agents who don't necessarily live and work in Simsbury all the time really understand the value that their potential buyers and their children are getting from our school system that you aren't able to see on a lot of these rankings or state websites.
So have you had anybody who actually saw the money market ranking come through your office?
We have. It's just it's another thing. I would say accolade that we get that makes them take pause and say, there's something going on here, and there's a reason why people are coming here. We are seeing a lot of young families moving here to town, which is always exciting because it brings a lot of new energy to the town. Families with young kids. And they are recognizing from a lot of these rankings that they do get a lot of home for their money here in Simsbury, not just from a housing standpoint, but the quality of life that they're going to experience here is worth it.
So I'm really curious. I know when we bought here 25 years ago, I know where a realtor brought us to sort of close the deal. Where do you take people now when you take them on a tour?
Well, I do take them, I start out downtown and really talk about our plan for the downtown area as part of the charrette and the town center code, so they understand that we are committed to maintaining the appearance of Main Street and its vibrancy here in Simsbury. We do spend some time down at Rotary Park talking about the band shell and the Talcott Mountain Music Festival and all the things that go on down there, as well as the bike trail. We do spend a lot of time at Simsbury Farms because it closes the deal in many cases because it doesn't exist anywhere else, and it is really a gem.
I had some visitors from Germany here a couple of weeks ago, and I took them to Simsbury Farms. And they just could not believe that this was a public golf course and complex. They could not believe it. It is so gorgeous.
I do get comments many times from buyers when I'm bringing them through wanting to know what the annual membership fee is. I'm like, it's just part of the services that you get by being a Simsbury resident.
So how do we compare to, let's say, our neighbors Avon and Farmington?
With regards to amenities?
Yeah, and with regards to attracting, you sell there too, so It's,
the communities are very different. One of the things we emphasize to our buyers is really finding that fit that they're comfortable with for their family. Some people, it's really about highway access. Some people, it's about programs that are offered within the community for their children. Some people who are more outdoorsy tend to gravitate towards here because we have more opportunities between our land trust properties and McLean Game Refuge and all of the river and all of that. They have more recreational opportunities here than they do in some of the other communities. The markets are very different because of the inventory that's on. We don't have a lot of new housing here in Simsbury. So most of our housing that gets sold is resale.
And there are people who don't like resale, they want new.
They want new, but we do have clients who want new and want newer, start looking in other communities and always keep coming back to Simsbury and how comfortable they feel here. And it's really, they do make a trade-off sometimes for the new house versus the resale because they like the feel of the town and what it has to offer their families or themselves personally.
The sense of community. I think that's very big. And again, as Chris mentioned, a lot of what these accolades translates to is somebody that might not necessarily have looked at Simsbury when they were looking at the Valley is seeing these national accolades. And what they're saying is, you know what? I am interested. Let's put Simsbury on the map. And then through the quality of life and through all of the sense of community that Simsbury's worked so hard to instill, I think that ends up being, one of those points. And the fact that we have a true downtown, which is rare in some of these communities. And people do like that. They remember that. That's what they grew up in. That's what their grandparents and their parents grew up in, was that traditional sense of a downtown that we've still kept.
That's so true. I'm going to put in my 2 cents. in the interest of full disclosure, I'm the chairman of the tourism, or co-chairman of the tourism committee, and I'm very concerned with these things, and I have opinions too. We do have a sense of community that Avon, for instance, doesn't have. We have a downtown. I have a neighbor who's now working at Fitzgerald's, and she's thrilled because people know your name there, and you run into people you know, and we're very happy that we moved here.
Well, I think the downtown area, though, provides a lot of opportunities for people to spend more time outdoors, and from an economic development standpoint. We have such great restaurants and shopping, and we're growing as a community that they have great opportunities to spend their time here. You don't need to go to a West Hartford Center for everything anymore. And
agreed.
Yeah, but one of our biggest disadvantages, you touched on it before, or you did, is that we're not near a highway. That stops a lot of people because it makes the commute longer. But it's my view that if people understood that because we're not near a highway, is why we have what we have.
Well, and I would argue too that we have great access to transportation. We're not directly near a highway, but you have the ease of Bradley Airport being less than 20 minutes away. Simsbury has its own beautiful airport, which gets a lot of tourism, and we have a gorgeous fly-in every September. So we are near alternative means of transportation, and for people that fly internationally, for example, or have to do a lot of flying for business, we actually are a great proximity, a community to look at when it comes in terms of that.
And we do have a lot of residents here in town who travel quite a bit for a living, and they choose to live in Simsbury because of the quality of life, not because their corporate headquarters are here. And with telecommuting, we do find a lot of people who work from home choose to live here because they're choosing what's right for their family. And because they're on the road all the time, it doesn't matter where their home base is.
So the other issue is that I brought up was businesses. Do these rankings make any difference to businesses coming to town? And I know you're on the Economic Development Commission, and you've been working on the task force or working with the task force. So perhaps we could talk a little bit about high taxes, increasing our tax base, and what's going on in town to do that.
Well, I think to start out with, we need to give a little bit of context. I serve as staff, and Chris serves as a member of the Economic Development Task Force. It is a small 2-year task force that was created by the Board of Selectmen. And it was created with a specific purpose to look at factors that are either impediments or can help economic development within the town of Simsbury. Having said that, what the task force has looked at are a variety of things. How easy or difficult is it to do business in Simsbury? How attractive is it for businesses to look at Simsbury? And so there's been a lot of factors and a lot of work. I think that the town recognizes that we want to be a leader when it comes to welcoming and growing the existing business base. Because, people think of economic development strictly as the new business that's coming in. And 9 times out of 10, it's the existing business that stays. The existing business that stays is the best form of retention for new businesses. Because as Chris mentioned, she shows people the downtown when they're looking to buy in Simsbury. Now, that's not people that are necessarily going to live in the downtown, but they want to know what your downtown looks like. They want to know that you have invested in your downtown, that it's going to flourish, that you have a plan. And I think the same goes with economic development. Will these rankings attract businesses to us? I think that's a little soon to tell, but what the Economic Development Task Force and the Economic Development Commission, and actually all of the department heads and town staff for the town of Simsbury have said is, we want to be proactive. We want to look at making sure that our regulations are fair, that we can, as quickly as possible, move businesses through the process. It doesn't necessarily guarantee them a yes or a no, but that they move through the process in a way that conserves their resources, that says they're going to get an answer in a quick manner. So I think that all of those things, that's the best that public policy can do when it comes to welcoming and keeping the existing businesses happy.
And one of the components of the Economic Development Task Force that we've been working on for quite some time is the development of a new website, not only for the town, but for the Economic Development Commission. And the rankings do help because it tells part of the story. But the goal of the task force and the development of the EDC page is to be a comprehensive location for a business, a resident, to get information not only about existing businesses, how to visit here, okay, what is there to do, where can I eat, where can I stay, what can I do in my free time, but to Sarah's point, how do I get a building permit? How do I expand my current business? How do I start a new business? What available parcels are there? And because the town has spent so much time and energy really developing a town center code, it's important for us to put our best foot forward and make sure that we're very clear on what our objectives are for the downtown area. To Sarah's point, retaining our businesses here in town is extremely important because, they're the backbone of the downtown area, and we want to make sure that they continue doing business in town.
So what is the status of the new website?
The prototype is done with some minor tweaks. It's going to go to beta testing during fourth quarter, and the goal is to have the economic development page and the town website rolled out sometime in first quarter after tax season.
After tax season. You don't want to make any changes,
no changes will
to
be
the
made
website until after tax season.
Because residents have the ability to pay their taxes online. They don't want to change that.
So we're doing
during
January
that cycle.
taxes? Or
Yeah, we're
July
talking,
taxes?
we would
January
be after in the early part of 2016
2016.
is what we're looking at.
In conjunction with that, the Economic Development Commission is running a photography contest, which got launched yesterday. It's on the town website. The press releases were issued yesterday regarding it, and we're looking for professional, amateur, and student photographers to contribute photographs of various things around town. And it's specified on the website the type of shots we're looking for a contest, which will unveil the winners in May, late May, or beginning of June. And this is photography that we're going to use on the website to show what a robust community we have and all the great, both natural beauty that we have, plus businesses and activities and parades and all of that.
And let me put in, not as the interviewer, but in my role as a tourism co-chair, we just opened a Simsbury Visitor Center in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce. We haven't had one for a number of years, but I'm thrilled that we have something downtown right in the center where people can see where they can go. And I think it's a great synergy between our volunteer committee, visitors, Simsbury Tourism Committee, and the full-time chamber to work together, and I'm thrilled at that. So people in town should come visit.
And so again, a reminder that the new Simsbury Visitor Center is housed in the Chamber of Commerce building, which is in the Simsbury Free Library.
Let me just go back one step, Sarah. I saw a post on the Simsbury, Connecticut Main Street site, I think it might have been yesterday, from someone suggesting that Simsbury needs to do more to attract visitors to town, bikers, et cetera, and do what Canton is doing. And I almost fell off my chair.
Yeah, I think, what we should start with is that 8 years ago, the Main Street Partnership, in conjunction with the town of Simsbury, embarked on a branding exercise for the entire town of Simsbury.
Did you see that post too?
I did.
Okay.
I did, and I couldn't respond to it just because it was too long and my schedule's been too hectic. But I want to let our viewers know that Canton is actually modeling after Simsbury. Canton, 3 years ago. My president of Main Street, we're an all-volunteer board. I'm the only paid staff person. But my president and myself were invited to the Economic Development Agency. They call it an EDA in Canton. And they were really interested because they said, Simsbury is doing such amazing things, and the Main Street program is winning all of these national awards. And we want to see if it's right for Canton. And through that, they created their own Canton Main Street. So they've imitated, which is the best form of flattery, but they've imitated our program. And as part of that, they loved our branding campaign. And I should mention, as we're talking about Money Magazine, what do you look at that's different 8 years ago from now? Because we just started hitting the rankings about 6 years ago. And I got to tell you, I attribute, and I believe that Money Magazine would feel the same way, we attribute a lot of that to the fact that we were able to start talking with one voice. We were able to cut through what all of the other towns are doing, which was every organization and every different group was saying something different, and it got lost in the shuffle. And Main Street did huge consensus building with all of the organizations and the residents and the businesses to create something that we felt was genuine and authentic, and it caught on. And that's part of what separated us 8 years ago and starting to get all of these awards is that we started to communicate to national groups, to the state, with one voice. And so Canton, yes, they are imitating Simsbury in the branding, which is fantastic, and we've been working a little bit with them, but we did start that 8 years ago.
Let me just say that you did not ask me to ask that question.
Yes, no, I didn't, but I did see that post.
I had the same reaction, and it goes back even further to the start of Main Street.
Yes.
I mean,
Main Street and tourism were both started in this around the same time frame with the same goal. And I will say we've worked really closely with the tourism committee to embark on the Heritage Tourism campaign and to do a lot of these things, because tourism, Main Street, real estate, everything really goes hand in hand. And that's part of what helps sell Simsbury is you have all of these different groups that are continually saying this is an amazing community for all of these different reasons, and it resonates with people.
Chris, I think it was the Economic Development Commission that commissioned Peter Fairweather to do a study.
It was the town of Simsbury through the planning department.
Yes.
So, and did he come before you?
He did a presentation a year and a half ago, maybe?
He actually did a presentation both to the Economic Development
Development
Commission and the town of Simsbury. And I will say one of the things that, because I love watching that, but one of the strengths that he talked about was the Economic Development Commission, in part, funds a part of Main Street. We are a quasi-governmental agency, which separates us and makes us a little bit different from a lot of other organizations. And one of the things he talked about was the strength in our branding, the strength in the Main Street program, the strength in the tourism and travel packages, the itineraries that we were putting together and have continued to put together. So all of those things combined, I think, were really fantastic.
And he confirmed what we've all talked about is really it's the quality of life here.
Yes.
Yeah, the quote that I loved from him was, most towns would give their eye teeth to have a fraction of what we have here.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And sometimes I think people in town get a little used to what they have and start being critical. But it's absolutely it's an amazing community, and it's really nice that we've been recognized nationally for it. Are there disadvantages to being here? Are there bad things to being here? Are there reasons that people say, I don't want to move to Simsbury? High taxes?
They are. You'll never hear them from me.
You're not going to hear it from me either. No. I think the tax, the Board of Selectmen have done an outstanding job with the Board of Finance the last 2 years, not having our taxes raised. And
actually having a decrease
both years, which is
fantastic.
Remarkable in this economy. And I think that when you explain to people who are moving here everything that you get with your taxes and the quality of the town for that, they get it.
And the sense of community.
It's
there in Avon, for instance, there is no downtown. There is no.
They're trying to make one now,
right,
to mimic us. Right. So again, another form of flattery. But
well, and I think again to Chris's point, there's, you're never going to hear anything. It's not just my job; it's my passion. As I think we'd agree around the table, it's our passion. Simsbury is a phenomenal place to be a part of in any sense of the word. Can any town better itself? Absolutely. And I think Simsbury has done a great job in being proactive at the planning, at not just the downtown charrette, but you're looking at things like the other housing zones. There's affordable housing zones, overlay zones. There's very complicated things. But Simsbury, to boil it down, has done a really good job at trying to be proactive. Look at the Hartford. When the Hartford announced that it was going to close its Simsbury location, I think it's worried a lot of people. But we've turned that into an opportunity using the charrette process, and it looks like you'll have a new closing at the end of this quarter for something that is mixed-use development, which would be incredibly exciting, which will be tied to the river and the mountains because, prime recreation capabilities on that site. So again, I think any town can continue to better itself. It's what the Economic Development Commission does in Main Street and the Task Force in Tourism does, but we try to stay ahead of the game, and you try to make sure that you deal with problems before they become problems, that we be proactive about things. It's the best you can do.
Chris, kind of changes in your career. I'm not sure how long you've been in real estate.
Since you was 2.
Since I was 2, a few years ago. I started about 14 years ago in real estate. I did grow up here, almost grew up my entire life here in town. I've been here since I was 12. My mother was a broker here in town. But prior to that, I was a buyer for GFox and Filene's for 15 years.
So how has the business changed? I mean,
the business has changed because of the internet.
Right, exactly.
So your business model changes. People know quite a bit about the town, the houses, the owners, the neighbors, the schools before they come to visit town. So consumers or buyers are more educated than they were when they first arrived 10, 15 years ago because the information wasn't available.
Yeah, they're not waiting for that package you mailed them anymore.
They don't wait for this big envelope from me. They have it all, and we're sending them links. And I think that's one of the things I'm excited about our new website and the EDC page is it's going to be one-stop shopping for an agent or someone who wants to send information to somebody, a prospective business or prospective resident. It's all encompassing, and so you can get a real feel for what our town's about.
And easy to navigate.
And it's very easy to navigate, and
you should
it's
be able
intuitive.
to find everything that you want within 1 to 2 clicks is going to be the goal of the new website. And a leader, the town has been great at being a leader in accessibility. So for people with some vision problems and things like that, this website will actually be a leader when it comes to being more accessible.
We have just a little bit of time left. Is there anything I didn't ask you about that you are burning to mention?
No, I just think that I would hope that the residents, the one thing we remind people is to shop locally. That's one of the best things that you can do. These businesses are the ones that provide for the schools, and they provide for all of the local organizations, and most times they live here, so their kids go to school here, they're neighbors of yours. So as you come onto the Christmas season, you can't buy everything in Simsbury, but those things you can buy, look to Simsbury first, because it's important if you want to keep them here.
Thank you, ladies. Our time is up. I want to thank everyone here at SCTV behind the scenes for getting the show on the air, and thanks to both my guests, Chris Barnett and Sarah Nielsen, for coming. I've been thrilled. I love to talk about Simsbury. I'd also like to thank everyone here at behind the scenes, and of course I want to thank you for watching us, and to remind you that if you missed any part of the show, you can always watch it on our website. Just go to simsburytv.org, where you can also see the schedule of when the show will actually air on television. I'm Dominique Avery. See you next time for the Talk of Simsbury.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.